Good morning. I'm listening to Whispers of the Faeries, Volume 3. So I'll put the tag on here for this music. It's like my favorite fairy music that, like, when friends come stay, I'll turn all the lights down low, and then this is what we listen to, like, at night, and it's just kind of cool. Bear karma is real. I'll tell you that. I kind of wrote about this story one time, like in a little blurb, like I think on my YouTube, like in my posts or whatever. I will tell a short story about the one time that I did indeed talk to a bear and had contact with a real bear, and it was kind of cool. I don't know who it was though, but I know that he remembers me. All right, so my first job that I ever had, besides being a babysitter, when I was like 13 or 14 years old, the summer that I turned 16, there was like a pub and grill called Gadzooks in Platteville, Wisconsin. It was 1997, and it was the last year that the Chicago Bears ever used University of Platteville as their training camp. And I didn't get a chance to go see the Bears ever, but I just remember everybody had like they'd pay for people to like park in there. It was just like swamped there because all the Bears fans were there to like watch them practice, right? I can't remember if I kind of like walked by or something. I could kind of see, like, that was a long time ago. I think I would have remembered that, but like I just remember it was just like crazy in Platteville. But I'm like, oh man, I remember that like the people that I worked for were horrible people. They lost their business. I'm just saying they were dreadful, dreadful fucking people. It was a man and his wife and the wife's sister. All right, dreadful fucking people, like, and they like to like humiliate me, like I'm just saying, like, they would not in front of this particular gentleman, but I'm sure that they fucking had jealousy problems, which was unnecessary because like anyway, they would do things like they would make me like in front of customers, like they would like scream at me and like fucking like they'd be like, take a fucking like toothbrush and a scrubby like you go on the floor, like fucking that in like the Taylor Swift, like Cinderella, or like the Taylor Swift song or whatever, like Bejeweled or whatever. They'd be like, you take this scrub thing like in front of people, and they're like, you go like under that table and you scrub the table bases, you scrub the table bases and stuff like that. And then they'd be like they would garnish my tips for no reason, like for any given reason. And that's, bear karma is real. This is what's going on right now. So I remember I was not quite 16. Uh, it was going to be my junior year the next year going into school. And it was like almost my birthday. And Gadzooks was open. And I was working the night shift, and we were supposed to close at 10 o'clock. But this bear guy, and he was very handsome, and he had kind of like auburnish brown hair, and he had a young lady with him. And I remember they were dressed really nice, because I remember it was a Tuesday night in 1997, like around like freaking July or August. And she was wearing kind of like a Taylor Swift dress. She was very thin, she had dark hair, and like her dress was like sequinedy, and I'm like, oh, that's really odd to come in on a Tuesday night and wear like a sequin dress like that. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm like, he must be a bear. And like, but before they talked to all of us or whatever, and they said, don't, it was so stupid because like we're like the wait staff, they're like, don't you dare talk to the bears. They're like, don't talk to them, don't ask them anything, like and I'm like the biggest Bears fan, but more so than myself, my mom was the biggest Bears fan. Like and I'm like, oh man, I'm like, this is so stupid, I'm not supposed to talk to the Bears and like ask them for an autograph. And I'm like, I know he's a bear, and like I'm like, I don't know what position he plays or anything, but I'm like, I am 15 years old and boy crazy, and they do not make men like that like around me. And I'm like, oh man, he's really cute. And I'm like, oh, I know he's taking that lady out on a date, you know, on a Tuesday night. And it's like, we're supposed to close at like 10 o'clock, 10:30. Well, they just like snuck in the door like at like 10:03 or something, and they're like, oh well, you know, Lolly, you have to stay. Well, I'm like, oh, this is cool because I know he's a bear. They're like, you have to stay and like don't talk to him, don't you fucking dare talk to him. Like you just take his order and you take him his stuff and like all of this stuff. And I'm like, okay, man, because like I really wish I could get his like autograph on a napkin or something to take home to my mom. That's like all I really wanted, right? So he's the nicest particular gentleman ever. And the young lady that he was with was very, very shy. And I think like, and I look exactly the same as I did when I was, honestly, when I was like 16 years old. My hair's kind of, my haircut, that was the summer that like I kind of got my haircut like this too. My haircut is exactly the same. My personality is exactly the same. And I'm just so excited, and I'm not mad. Like, what does my fucking like 15 and like fucking almost 16-year-old ass have to do on a Tuesday night in August? Like, freaking, but make more money, right? So I was so excited. I'm like, oh, like, how do you like Platteville and stuff? And then, so what did they order? They ordered steaks, right? So, because that's what bears apparently eat. I don't think my young self, I was already a vegetarian with my haircut like this, and I was so excited because I was going to be a cheerleader. Like, not that year, but the next year, something like that. Like, I was just, like, really excited. So excited that, like, they ordered their steak. And, of course, I waited on them and stuff. And I know he remembers. I give them their steak, and then, like, I go check in on them. And he's sitting there, and I'm like, hey, is everything okay? And he's like, well, there's a problem. There's only one issue. You didn't give us a steak knife to eat our steaks. I'm like, oh, shoot, dude, I'm so sorry. I'm a vegetarian. I didn't even think that, like, in the little, like, the regular silverware, they don't give you a steak knife. I had to go out in the back and get him one. So, long story short, my frickin' evil, like, so disrespectful, like, snotty fucking people that I work for garnished my tip because they are cokeheads and they lost their fucking business. They had Ferraris and shit, and they lost their business. They fucking, oh, that's all they did. So I'm sure this particular gentleman left me a decent tip. And they said, you didn't give him his steak knife, Laura, so, like, you don't get your tip. We're keeping your tip. You don't get to keep your tip. They're like, don't you ever do that again. They're just like, oh, like, and they're, you know what I mean? So, I was like, I had to stay there until, like, fucking, like, I think after midnight, and they took my tip. And that was, like, normal for me, too. Like, there was, like, if I... Anyway. So I do remember that, like, I wondered, like, the young lady that he was with was very shy. She did have a very beautiful dress on. It was very sparkly. That must have been fun. I do remember she did not eat anything, and she threw her entire, like, fucking meal in the garbage. And I was like, why did she do that? How could she not even, like, pretend to, like, eat something, you know? Why didn't she just get a salad? I'm like, man, I wish I could take that bear home, like, you know, and she could come home with me, too, and look at my fucking, like, my cool clothes and shit. With my mom and dad, I'm like, you should have come to my mom and dad's house and come home with me, like, in Cuba City, like, 8 minutes away, because you'd have so much fun meeting my mom and, like, all this stuff. But that was my encounter with a real bear. I don't know who he is. I'm exactly the same person as I was back then. So, 1997, that was really cool. The last time that the Chicago Bears ever practiced, like, at University of Wisconsin-Platteville. And, fuck those people, man. They are horrible people. And I know they got a divorce and stuff, too, the people that I worked for. But, humiliate Lolly and treat Lolly like garbage and garnish Lolly's tips was, like, fucking an every single day, like, regular fucking occurrence working there. But, yeah, that's my story. So how about we do a card right now? Bear karma is real, yeah. All right, what are we gonna do today? My dishes are almost done now. They really are. What is it? It says, Which school teacher do you remember the most and why? Oh man. Cuba City School District has so many good school teachers. I remember Mr. Staver, and Mr. Staver has oh man. Why do I remember Mr. Staver? Because he set the standard of excellence like in our school system for so many years. He taught science and he made cookies that had earthworms in them and he had pig brains and stuff and I don't know if I ate the pig brains or whatever. But he died of cancer and I remember I got to see him right before he died. He was at Dollar General and his daughter was a physical therapist for my mom and dad. And then like I had juvenile rheumatoid arthritis. Someone beat the shit out of me like not too long ago, and got my knees back into like having arthritis. And it was like I was only on like someone I met online. I only went on like a date or two with this guy, and he was like fucking insane, right? But like I asked the court to get him some professional help, like in a very kind way. I'm like, the only way, like, can you please try to get him some sliding skill, like therapy or something? But so I had to go see his daughter. I know, like Mr. Staver, I saw him right before he died, and it was like during a time where everyone was watching their weight, everyone was dieting. He already had cancer anyway. He was so painfully thin. But I remember, like, I was like, oh, I was so happy to see him. Like, I kind of, like, I patted him on the shoulder. I gave him, like, half a hug, you know. I was like, oh, man, it's so good to see you, Mr. Staver. Right before he died, I'm like, oh, man, you know, so good to see you, sir, you know. So anyway, also Mrs. Staver, I don't think it's any relation. In third grade, she was the one that taught me cursive. I remember I hated cursive so much that like I was such a sensitive kid. I cried in cursive class. We have those desks where like you lift the hood up. I remember I kind of hid my head in my desk, and she's like, Laura, you know, get your head out from under your desk. She's like, you're gonna learn cursive, and I'd be like, you know, I cried. And I ended up writing a letter to President Biden because I got all of my school loans forgiven under the Biden administration, the whole administration that like worked on that project, $55,000 in school loans. So I wrote President Biden. I showboated a little bit, wrote him a thank you note. I said, thank you, sir, and your whole administration for having my school loans forgiven. I wrote it in cursive backwards on Wisconsin. Thank you. Because kids in the Wisconsin system can write in cursive backwards because that's how good our school system is here. And he wrote me a letter back, and he typed it out himself. He wrote the letter himself and signed it with his own signature. So I have President Biden's, I can show you, President Biden's wrote me a thank you letter back for writing a thank you letter, because you're supposed to write like $55,000. That's a lot of money, right? You should say thank you for that, right? Oh, hey. Bear karma is real. Yeah. Here's my book bag. I showed you this before. This was my mom's. I have a designer bag, honey. Check this out. I even kept the tag on it because it's designer from the NFL. There's even like a thing on it. A tag. It's a sparkly, like it's a real one. So all these books. Oh, shit. Oh, my friend. I have a friend of a friend. She has 10 kids, and she she freaking colored this for me and stuff. So I framed it. Her name is Tina, and like she's the one that's like obviously against like birth control and stuff. I didn't understand why birth control was bad, or whatever. But yeah. So I had to hang this up. I thought it was cool. But anyway, about President Biden writing me a letter back. No, this is my book, and I was a youth pastor and a youth group person for even at that time. Like when I met that Chicago Bear at the frickin' place that I worked. You know what I mean? I was teaching kids at that time. I was a youth group volunteer and like a fucking like youth pastor and fucking vacation Bible school. They had me like teaching kids like early, but these are all my books, and they were blessed by Pastor Gus Barnes, like in a ritual. So like these books are blessed, and like these are my teaching books. The day my house got busted, I was supposed to go to a lemonade stand and help a little girl and her brothers with a lemonade stand. I said, I'm going to bring you this Girl Scout book and we can work on some Girl Scout stuff. You're not in Girl Scouts. We'll work on some Girl Scout projects together. And they busted my house and I was not able to go see the little girl and her brothers. So she thinks that I stood her up and didn't come to do Girl Scouts with her that day. Thanks. Anyway, the letter from President Biden. I got a mad out of it though. Check it out. And yes, again, I am coming for you. I am writing some police reports. You better watch out because you don't get away with that. Oh, you know it. Bear karma is real. Yeah. So the letter from Biden. I hope he's doing well, actually. I got to remember to say a prayer for him. Actually, I still remember him saying prayer, so I'm going to say, why don't we? God, today in our thoughts and prayers are everybody that are suffering from terminal diseases and addiction, especially like, President Biden. He apparently still has cancer. We hope that no one is suffering, that everyone is healing today. And we also pray for peace. Thank you so much for our lives. We are so grateful. It is. Amen. How do you say that? Or like, it is that there's mercy in this world. I tell you that. Here's all my paperwork. If I ever want to get married, everything that I need is like right here. And I happen to know that in like Dubuque, if you go to the courthouse, you can get a marriage license in 3 days for $80. And in Wisconsin, it's like fucking like $50 more or something. And you have to wait like 3 weeks. I don't know. But this is all my important stuff. My name change back to Harmon completely thing. Yeah, it's in here. Checks. Oh, I have some cool things. Oh, I even showed President Biden this Easter's Fur that I wrote. Hey, I'm going to get a book published at Palmetto Publishers. I have to do like the art for it though. I'm not going to have it done by AI. But yes, I wrote Easter's Fur. Noel Gallagher knows. Can you do some chords, Bear karma is real. Yeah, hi. Anyway. Hey, I was also in University Singers. I said that I was in musical theater and I was in theater and I did the vagina monologues. I also went on tour with University Singers when I was at Platteville. So I got so much arts and music curriculum in there when I was there for the short time that I was there. But I'm looking for President Biden's. Oh, here it is. You see it? Oh, before I show you that, I showed President Biden this too because I messaged him or whatever. He didn't message me back, but I know he gets my messages. I have frickin' Richard Dawson's. My friend Paula gave me that Richard Dawson. Frickin' kisses all the girls. I have Richard Dawson's actual autograph. I haven't even seen this show that much. Oh, that's cool. But I've seen of this show. I know him from it's a Family Feud that he did or whatever. He's like one of those. I'm like, oh, my dad kind of looks like Richard Dawson. And he's so adorable, right? It's like he like wore clothes like that kind of like if my dad did, like if he wasn't like in like ripped up freaking like farm stuff that was like 20 years old or like wearing like I guess like Air Force stuff, I guess, but mostly he would wear like Nehru jackets and stuff. Like he would dress like fucking like Richard Dawson on Laugh-In. That was like my dad dressed like that. So I'm like, and he was really cute, kind of like Richard Dawson too. But like so Paula like has a crush on Richard Dawson, and I'm like, oh, it's so funny because like my dad and him kind of look so much alike, kind of. So yeah, I have that. But President Biden. Here's President Biden's signature. See, that's actually him. And he wrote this himself. He like on his letterhead. Like that like means a lot to me that he took the time to sit down and write a letter. Like especially maybe if he wasn't feeling well. Do you know what I mean? That means a lot. It says, Dear Ms. Harmon, thank you for sharing your story. As president, I set out to rebuild the middle class, the backbone of America, and give families a little bit of breathing room. A critical part of that effort includes fixing the broken student loan system so that a higher education provides Americans with opportunity and prosperity, not unmanageable burdens of student loan debt. The light's kind of weird. That's why my administration is working hard to ensure education is a ticket to the middle class that folks can actually afford. The changes we've made are uplifting hardworking Americans across the country, helping them crawl out from under a mountain of debt. I'm glad to hear that these actions have benefited you. But there is more work to do. I will keep your experience in mind as my administration continues to ease the burden of student loan debt and make it easier for all Americans to pursue the American dream. Isn't that kind of cool? Sincerely, Joe Biden. Just like there's just little Joe Biden, man. He's not little Joe Biden. He made it too. The American dream, you know what I mean? So we wish him the best of health, right? And also, Dr. Jill Biden, I will have brunch with you anytime you wish, ma'am, right? Anytime you want. You just give me a call, give me a holler. I would love to come have brunch with you anytime. So, on that note, good news! Ah! You know it! Bear karma is real. Yeah. Anyway, I'm a little excited. I had an energy drink today. All right, peace. I quit drinking. Bye.